All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on something many of us take for granted, the market. We're going to explore how something as brutal as violent plunder was systematically turned into the clean, abstract value of a stock portfolio. This is the hidden story of how conquest became capital.
So, to really get a handle on this, you have to look at two totally different pictures. On one hand, you've got the story we're all familiar with, Adam Smith's famous pin factory. It's this neat, tidy model of rational productivity. But on the other hand, at the exact same time, in Smith's own backyard, you had the Highland Clearances, a brutal, violent campaign to kick people off their land for sheep farming. One is a clean theory, the other, a very messy reality.
And that really is the central question for us today, isn't it? How did that clean, simple story of the pin factory somehow manage to completely overshadow the violent reality of dispossession? How did the idea of the market become a way for us to forget its own brutal beginnings?
To answer that, we have to start with the guy who literally wrote the book on modern economics, Adam Smith. Because you see, to really understand the stock market, you first have to understand what Smith chose to leave out. And I mean, you have to understand just how huge this omission is. We're talking about his masterpiece, The Wealth of Nations. It's 900 pages long. And in all those pages, the most fundamental question of all, how did people get their property in the first place, is never really confronted. He talks about rent, wages, profit, but never asks, hey, how did the landlord get the land? Where did the capitalist get the capital? It's this giant black hole right at the center of his theory.
His entire economic model basically begins after the fight is over. He starts his analysis with the world where the land is already owned, the capital's already been piled up, and the factories are already in private hands. The violence that made all that happen? It's just swept under the rug. He treats this history of conquest not as a series of events, but just as the natural, normal starting point for his calculations.
And this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the difference in perspective. Adam Smith looks at the system and analyzes how it works. He's counting the coins. But critics like Karl Marx dig deeper. They ask about the history that made it possible. They're counting the corpses buried underneath it all. It's a profound shift in focus.
And this leads us to this core concept, silent property. Its ownership with a violent, messy backstory has been totally erased. You could argue that Smith's real genius wasn't defending the violence. It was creating an economic theory so complete, so all-encompassing, that it just made us forget the violence ever happened. He made it silent.
Okay, so we've seen the theory and its big omission. Now let's see how that played out in the real world. We're going to look at the practical invention that turned imperial conquest into a financial product, and in doing so, created the modern stock market. Let's go back in time. The year is 1602. In Amsterdam, three things happen almost at once that change the world forever. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, is created. It becomes the very first company to issue shares that could be bought and sold by the public. And to trade them, the Amsterdam Bourse opens its doors as the world's first formal stock exchange. But we need to be absolutely clear about what the VOC actually was. This was not some friendly group of merchants. Think of it more like a state-backed war corporation. The Dutch government gave it the power to wage its own wars, sign its own treaties, and build its own colonies. Its job wasn't just to trade, it was to achieve total military and economic domination in Asia.
And here is the truly revolutionary mechanism they invented. First, you use your state-backed military to go conquer some foreign land. Second, you seize everything of value, spices, land, even the people themselves. Third, you take all that loot, all the spoils of war, and you legally slice it up into tiny pieces called shares. And finally, step 4, you sell those shares on an open market to investors back home.
And this was the terrifying genius of it all. This system created a whole new class of owner. For the first time in history, you didn't have to be a soldier on a ship to get rich from empire. You could be a merchant in Amsterdam, profiting from violence happening thousands of miles away. And all you had to do was the simple, clean act of buying a stock.
So what did this do? It created this huge psychological gap, a distance between the action and the profit. Let's dig into how the stock market became a machine for abstracting violence away, making the act of ownership feel totally innocent. So when you look at it this way, what is a share of stock, really? It's so much more than just a piece of a company. It's a legalized claim. It's a piece of paper that says you are entitled to the future profits that are being extracted from land and from labor, often by force, by other people far away. It's a slice of colonialism made legitimate.
And where did those dividends, the money landing in shareholders' pockets, actually come from? Well, it wasn't magic. As you can see, the profits were the direct result of enslaved labor, of land seized from indigenous people, of tribute forced out of local peasants, and of charging monopoly prices for stolen goods.
But now, look at this. If you were an investor back in Amsterdam, you didn't see any of that. What you saw was this: a clean, simple, positive number. Plus 2.5%. Growth, profit, success. It's abstract, it's sanitized, it's just a number.
But behind that clean plus 2.5% was this brutal reality. That number was the sanitized financial shadow of slave ships, of massacres against anyone who resisted, of the total seizure of land. The stock price was designed to hide the immense human suffering that created it.
And this gets to the absolute heart of the argument. Abstraction is the engine of innocence. The stock market's greatest innovation was psychological. It's a machine that's brilliant at converting brutal, horrific acts into clean data points. It launders violence into value, and it allows the owner of that value to feel the pride of success without any of the guilt of complicity.
So let's bring this all together. What's the key takeaway from this briefing? It's that the free market is not some natural force like gravity. It's a human invention. It is a system that was deliberately constructed to launder the profits of conquest into legitimate, respectable wealth.
You can see this transformation perfectly in the language we use. Imperial conquest becomes clean, professional, corporate ownership. Outright robbery gets a sophisticated makeover as risk management. And violent plunder? Oh, that's just smart portfolio diversification. The language of modern finance itself is designed to make us forget a history of theft.
Our source offers this powerful final metaphor. The market is a fence. Just like the physical fences that were built to enclose common lands and kick people out during the Highland Clearances, the modern market system was built to enclose stolen wealth, legitimize it, and put it beyond question forever. It's a legal and financial barrier protecting the spoils of history.
And that leaves us with one final, provocative question to think about. This entire system is built on divorcing wealth from its violent origin story. So, if we participate in that system, a system designed to make us forget, can our ownership ever truly be innocent?